Hi, this is Mike with WaiverFile. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Workflows feature in WaiverFile to set up and manage waivers for a sports tournament. So to start, we're going to jump over to Excel. A lot of sports tournament software will give you data in an Excel file like this. This is just some sample data. But this is what we're going to start from. So there's some different data points here. You may have extra fields in here, and that's fine. In our sample, we have a team name, then we have an age group, and you'll see that sometimes you have multiple team names in different age groups where you know the same team name in different groups. And we want a handle for that. We have coaches' names, we have coaches' emails, and we have manager emails in here. And in our example, we're going to want to give coaches and managers access to see who signed the waivers for their team so they can sort of manage that on their end. So the first thing we want to do is we want to have a team name that's unique because we're going to map that into WaiverFile. So what we can do is when you have this kind of a situation where you've got different ages, or sometimes you even have like boys, girls listed as a column, what you can do is join those together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the right-click on the column header here, click on Insert to make a new column. And I like to just call this WaiverFile name. And I'll make a little more room here. And we're just going to join these together. So the way you can do that is you click the equal sign and click on the first column. And then you can click on the and symbol. And then you're going to make a space. So I just put a space in quotation marks. And then another and symbol and the next one. And if you have like boys, girls as a column or anything else that you want to include to do that, you can just do the same thing to keep adding more. And then once we enter, you'll see it just combines it together as, okay, here's Avalanche U12. Then we're going to just repeat this for everything else. So when you click on the first one and you grab this little box in the corner, click and drag that down all the way to the bottom. And you're going to see it just repeats that for everything. So now you've got this is a unique team name. So that's what we're going to use for a team name in WaiverFile. So I'll go ahead and just save that. And let's jump back to WaiverFile and work on the import. All right, so we're on our dashboard now, and we're going to go in and we're going to create a workflow. We'll go to Workflows, and we're going to click on New Workflow. We're going to give it a name, so we're just going to call this Sample Tournament, but you put the name of, the name and date of your tournament, or whatever event you have. Status is active, but if you have an active site and you don't want anyone to see it right away, you can set this to disabled, but it's a test, so I'm just going to leave it on. And then for mode, we're going to click on Events. Then we're going to click, now just so you know what it is, if you click on General Admission or both on your main page, you're going to get a button for this tournament. So I like to create it and tie it to an event when I'm doing a tournament because it just gives you some more reporting options and helps group the data together a little better. So let's go ahead and click on Submit. And that's going to create a blank workflow. Now, within workflows, you can create the steps in a lot of different ways. It's essentially like making folders, so you can group your folders any way you want, and there's a lot of flexibility there. One common way, though, that I like to do it is, in a lot of tournaments, we see that you have players and coaches are going to be tied to a team, but you often also want to collect a waiver for referees or staff, and they don't have a team. So what I like to do in that case is make a choice first for that. So I'll click on Add a Step. And I like to call this players and coaches. Click add. And I'm going to click another step. And I'm going to call this staff, what we call referees and staff, like that. Again, this is customizable, so you can really name that whatever you like. But this is just a common way to do it. So this will be the first choice that people get. Are you a player and coach? Player or coach, or are you referee and staff? While we're here, we're going to attach the form. So I'll click on Forms. And I'll click on Add Forms. Now I already have a waiver set up in this test account. If you don't have a waiver, we have other videos going through how to actually set up the waiver itself, or you can reach out to us for support anytime for that. But we're just going to attach the waiver we have here. All right, now we'll go back to the steps here. So now within referees and staff, there's nothing to do inside of there. They're just going to get the form. But in players and coaches, we want to offer that list of teams. All right, once we have the basic part, of the workflow in place and it exists, but before we do the Excel import, I like to create the actual event to map this to. So we're just going to jump over to Events, click on New Event, and for our event name, again, we're just going to say Sample Tournament. We're going to pick the date the tournament's happening on, so I'm just going to pick something here. You can do times, or you can check all-day event, and then you can check whichever days it's happening on. And then, so traditionally with events, you're going to pick the waiver, and it's just going to sign for the waiver. But in this case, we want to turn that off and turn on our workflow that we created. So instead of just going to that form, we're going to step them through the workflow for this event. So we'll just check that, click on save. All right, so that's all set. Now we can go do our Excel import. So let's jump to workflows again. When we want to work on it, we're going to click on edit. And now we'll click into players and coaches. And this is where we want to put all our teams. So we'll click on Excel import. We'll click choose file and go find our file. And then we're going to check the box to include the header row because this spreadsheet did have a header row on top. The target step question is where we last were, but you can basically see this is where all these steps are going to get imported. So that's where we're going. And then you'll see that it detected that there's the event that we just created here. And that's going to, when it sends an email out to the coaches, it's going to include the exact link that they need. So if for some reason it wasn't here, you can click on choose and go find the event. Or if you went here before you created the event, that's when you'd be prompted, go back and attach it to the event. Because it's nice to have it all attached when you are doing it under an event. So we'll click on next step. And now we're going to map our fields. So you'll see here's the waiver file name that we created with it combined. That's what we want to use for the step name. So we'll hit the drop down here, click on step name, and now when it imports it, it's going to create a step for each one of these, and it will use the one that we made. Now the next thing you're going to do is you can click on coach email and manager email, and you're going to set both of them to manager email. Now sometimes if you're setting this up but you don't want to send the invites out right away, or you're just kind of maybe doing it for the first time, when you do it this way and map it, it's going to send them the emails basically right away. But what you can do if you want to is just turn that off for now and don't map these and just do the step name, and that's going to import all the teams and get everything set up so you can look at it, and then without sending the emails. Then what you'll do is you'll go back through this process again later and do the exact same thing, map the step name, and then map the coach email, and on the second time you do it, when you want to send them, then you map the coach email. And when you process this again, it won't overwrite, I should say, it won't duplicate the team names. It looks to see if it's already there. It'll map up and send them. So for our demo, I'm just going to go ahead and send them. Then there's a choice here, combine invite emails, and this is turned on by default. What this does is if one coach or manager has been given access to multiple teams, they'll get a single email message with a list of everything that they've been invited to. If for some reason you want them to have an individual email message per, you would turn that off, and that's the way that'll work. So we'll click on next step. We're going to preview it, and this just kind of shows a sample of some of the data that's going to go out. So I have a step name, here's a manager email, here's a manager email, and so on. So if that all looks good, we go ahead and click on complete import, and what this is going to do is process it. This is one of those buttons that's good to click just once. It is processing. If you have a really big file, it can take a minute. So just click on the button once and give it a minute to process. All right, once it's complete, you'll see a confirmation that we imported 50 teams. You click on back to workflow. You'll see that all our teams are in there. And if you want to manage the managers or the coaches that you're inviting for each one, you can click on any one of these. And when you go to the manager step, you'll see that within Blue Thunder U10, here's the managers that have been invited. If you want to just one-off send additional invites individually, you just go to this step, click on Invite Managers. You'll put an email address in here. You can put a custom message in here if you just want to put something custom for that, and click on Send Invite, and that will invite the new manager. Additionally, if you want to create another team, let's say you have a late addition, you'll go to Workflows, you'll click on Edit, you'll navigate in to Players and Coaches, you'll find where you want to put it, and here what you'll do is click on Add Step. And you can put a new team in here just like that. So you can do them one by one. All right, so what does the signing process look like? Now that everything's set up, we're going to click on Signature Area on the top right. Click on Sign Your Waiver here. And you'll see now we have our sample tournament that we created. Click on that. And you'll see the first choice you get is, as we set it up, players and coaches, or referees and staff. Now if I click on referees and staff, you'll see that the form comes right up and there's no team selection involved. Whereas if we pick players and coaches, we're now going to get a drop-down list with all the teams on it, and it's a searchable drop-down list, which makes it easier for parents to just start typing and search for the one they're looking for. So we'll click on that. Once you select your team, the form loads, but you'll see now that you're signing under the context of this tournament, players and coaches, here's your team, and it's also attached to the event. You can see the dates here. So now parents and players will fill out the form just like normal. And there's one other feature that can be helpful, and I didn't have it turned on initially, so let me show you how to turn it on because it's not always on by default. And that's the ability to pick different teams for different kids. So sometimes parents will have multiple kids in a tournament, but they're on different teams. So to set that up, let's go back to the admin area. We're going to go to workflows. We'll click on edit for our workflow. We'll go to settings on the first tab and scroll all the way down here. And so what we're looking at here is the alternate step selection mode. So by default it's inherit, which I guess it's just turned off in this case. What you can do is just say include. So that's including the alternate step selection. And the other thing I like to do is override what that label says. So I'm going to just call it team, because in sports that's always the case here. So we'll click on save, and I'll show you what that looks like on the other side. Now that that's saved, we can go back to the signature area and just click through like someone would. Click on the tournament, players and coaches, select a team, and now when I go down and show that I'm signing for children, you'll see that the first team was selected, the one that I already did. But if I add another child, I have the option to select a different team. And now as a parent, I just saved a lot of time because I can sign for both kids at once and put them, in their own teams. And then the rest of the form works like normal. You can sign your form and complete it and submit it. All right, now for viewing signed waivers from the dashboard, on your dashboard, it is an event, so you're going to see the complete list right here. But as that gets bigger, what you can also do is go to workflows. And if you click on the name of the tournament or view waivers, here's where you can navigate through, and you'll see the number. Now it's 0 because we just created it, but you would be able to click on players and coaches, and as you click down into here, you can go in and review all the waivers that have been signed here. You can also click export to Excel for any view that's in here. Now the managers that you invite are going to get an email that has 2 links in it. One is a direct link to their team's waiver, and so instead of clicking through from the beginning like we did before, clicking through all those steps, they can send a special link out to their team, which skips all that and goes directly to their team for that tournament. So they can pretty much copy and paste that link and send it out to their team, which saves a lot of time because each coach can kind of just do that on their own and get them to log in or get them to sign the waiver. And the second link that is in the email is a link to the manager page. They'll be given an email address and password to log in with. If they don't have a password, it makes one for them. And the coach can basically log in and they'll get to this page and see a list of any tournaments and teams that they have access to. Again, here they have the waiver link which they can use, which is the same one that's in the email. And then under here, when you click on view names, they can click on that and they'll not get a full waiver. They can't see the entire waiver for security reasons. They can just get a list of names, although in the back end you can customize if they need extra fields in here. But basically they get a list of everyone who's signed. So that coach can send out the link to the waiver for all their players, and then they can log in here just to get a quick view of everyone who's signed so they can figure out if anyone's missing and then make sure that everyone gets their waiver signed in advance. So once you have that all set up, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you have any questions about how to set this up or any other features in WaiverFile, feel free to reach us anytime. It's info@waiverfile.com, or just visit our website at waiverfile.com. Thanks for choosing WaiverFile.
To learn more about WaiverFile or to try it free for 30 days, visit waiverfile.com. Thanks for watching.